Heavy rains filled rivers and bayous, which is why backwater remains a problem for farmers who should be planting corn and ranchers who now have nowhere for their cattle to graze. My partner, TWILA's Kristen Oakes-White, has been following how this flood is impacting farmers and ranchers across the state. And Kristen, I understand even your husband's field is still covered with water.
I am standing here in Monterey, Louisiana, Avery, and as you can tell, it's extremely windy, and all of that wind is coming off of that front that brought all of that rain to North Louisiana. And here, this is my husband's soybean field. This field is covered in 6 to 8 inches of water. Monterey is about an hour south of Monroe and Rayville in those areas where they got so much rain. Here they only got about 10 inches of rain, but as you can see, that rain came so hard and so fast that the rain absolutely had nowhere to go, and so these fields are literally standing in water. Thankfully, they didn't have any corn planted, but that wasn't the case across the state. As Avery just mentioned, heavy downpours and unprecedented flooding across North Louisiana have farmers and ranchers across the state dealing with a familiar foe, the consequences of Mother Nature. TWILA's Karl Wiggers is in Richland parish, where hundreds of acres of newly planted corn are drowning in a field of floodwater.
Richland Parish farmer Dustin Morris is chest deep in water. He's checking the depth of the floodwater at this power unit on the bank of the Beth River. Here you see what Morris had to do to save that power unit from being washed away. That's a massive spray rig pulling it out of the rushing waters.
It's a flood of epic proportions, it really is. All this is just from having so much rain at one time, it doesn't have a way out. And so I think that our communities are suffering more now than ever, more than any hurricane that I've ever seen in my lifetime, and more than in '91.
By boat, Morris's father-in-law, Congressman Ralph Abraham, gets a first-hand look at the damage caused by so much rain in a short amount of time.
I've been from certainly the northeast part of the state all the way down to the Florida parishes and some in between there, and I've seen devastation everywhere I've gone. I've seen more water in this event than I've ever seen as a Louisianian in my entire life.
While Abraham knows his votes in Washington, D.C. will help the farmers and ranchers in his district, the sandbags he's carrying now will do so much more.
Well, unfortunately, we have had loss of lives, and I can only imagine the damage of loss of livelihood when we start assessing and adding up those figures. It's going to be monumental.
From the air, you get a full view of the damage. Water covers the roots of trees in this orchard. Fields near Sterlington, covered entirely with water, sit next to houses where no one can live because the flood has taken them over. Even the house of God, this church, was not spared from the damage caused by rising waters. Despite the damage, Morris is prayerful and thankful.
You know, at this point in time, we just got to be patient and be thankful that we didn't plant the whole farm.
Morris had only planted 300 acres of this field before the rain started. He'll likely have to replant everything here once the water recedes.
This is minor in the big picture. There's people losing their homes. Our closest neighbor has 4 feet of water in their house right now. And so when you take that into perspective, having a few acres of corn underwater isn't nearly as bad as it could be.
All of our fields are completely submerged. I mean, there's very few fields that are actually left outside the water. I mean, it's completely submerged.
Elliot Colvin is a farmer. His fields are also underwater, but he's thinking about his neighbors.
Farmers are the lifeblood of our community. Typically, they're the first people that are called. I mean, everybody knows a farmer in our area, in our rural areas. You know, and farmers are such a vital part of our local communities. And usually they know to lean on them first.
Just the first day, I got literally hundreds of calls from farmers, mostly, say, hey, I've got some farm hands that we can't get in the field. What can we do to help? We can bring trucks, we can bring tractors, we can bring trailers, and we just want to be part of the solution. And that's what, again, makes me very proud to live right here in Louisiana.
Growing up in this part of the state, I've driven these roads my entire life, and I've never seen anything quite like it myself. I've got friends with homes that are underwater. I've got family that's putting poly pipe and sandbags around their own homes trying to protect it from backwater and flooding waters, and it really just breaks your heart to see this kind of damage, this kind of a storm hit your hometown.
Karl, you're right. It is truly unreal to see that much water in one place at one time. Karl Wiggers, thanks. Congressman Abraham said a day after the floodwater started to rise, the Farm Service Agency had boots on the ground in Richland Parish assessing the damage. And if you have damage on your farm or your area or home, you'd like more information, contact your local FSA office or visit our website at twilatv.org.